Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is time. Now, this is something that changes around a lot. There are definitely different opinions I have about what my favorite bands are, and trust me, there are many bands I have either started to like or have discovered or have wanted to dive into their discographies more, which I could easily end up falling in love with and could easily unseat some of these bands. That's definitely a possibility. Now, before I go into my top 10 favorite bands, first of all, this is my opinion. Second of all, there's a couple instances where we're going to get a little bit dicey with what we qualify as a band. You'll see what I mean. I'm not 100% sure when I qualify a band, but well, it counts as long as it's if it's called a band, if it's marketed as a band, it counts, okay? And the other thing is that I'm just going to go through a few bands I love but I left off the list because of space issues. So I'm just going to say 21 Pilots, Fleetwood Mac, Fall Out Boy, Nirvana, Supertramp, etc. I like all those bands a bit, quite a bit. The Verve, Walk the Moon, I don't know. I'm just naming random bands at this point. But these were the top 10. I tried to be as objective as possible, looking at my taste over the years, not disregarding, not putting all of my new favorite bands at the top of the list, trying to pay attention to all of my favorite bands, not just the ones I'm currently obsessed with. But I do have to give credit where credit is due to when I get obsessed with a new band, or a band that's new to me. So yes, this is subject to change, but I can usually have a feeling when I fall in love with a band or music if I'm going to come back to that band. It's not just a phase, you know what I mean? If I am in love with a band's music and it's not just a phase, I know there'll be phases where I'm more obsessed with one band or another. That's just how it works as well. I go through phases with bands. This is the bands which, to me, I will find myself revisiting and will have the most staying power to me. Not necessarily my favorite bands at the moment, but these are my favorite bands, as in the ones I could totally revisit and totally, looking over the last 2 years of my life, these are the bands I have connected with the most, had the most enjoyment out of. Again, there's a lot of other things I left off, Fall Out Boy and Fleetwood Mac and Nirvana is the depth, but without further ado, let's get into the list proper with my number 10 favorite band as of now, of all time. And this is definitely one that could easily be unseated, but I can't deny how much I was obsessed with this band when I was 16. I am 16, I mean in 2016, when I was 14. I am sorry, I can't do math. How obsessed with this band I was when I was 14. How much I loved this band's self-titled album, the deluxe edition, and how much this was like one of the only things I listened to consistently for a good period. I went through a huge phase of this band, and looking back, ignoring their impact on me would be stupid, even if I don't listen to them as much anymore because I got burned out, or if I don't think they're as good as they used to be. Ignoring their impact on me is something that would be vain to do, but I must say, this band will always have a special place in my heart, and yes, we're stretching the definition of band here. This group will always have a special place in my heart, and there's not much else I can say about it other than, please welcome Pentatonix. I love Pentatonix. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Pentatonix, or they like to hate on Pentatonix, and I understand that as well. Now, I know people like to say Pentatonix isn't as good now that Avi is gone and all this stuff. I also agree with that. This was one of the first bands that I was really and truly obsessed with back in 2016. Now, there are a couple other bands I've been obsessed with way back, but this is one of my first band obsessions. and I absolutely love the harmonies and the songs. Now, I played the death out of this self-titled album from 2015. I played the death out of this album. I had it on CD at a library, and I had it on my phone, and I played the death out of it. This was my favorite album for the longest time. And while it's not my favorite album anymore, I still think it's fantastic. I love all the songs on the album, including the deluxe tracks, which are some covers of some popular songs from the time, and I prefer their versions of Lean On and Where Are You Now. And I do really like their, some of their more recent covers as well. I liked their Havana cover. I dug that a lot when it came out. But yeah, I'm not as excited for their stuff these days. They are still primarily a covers band, and I really want them to release something like this again. I want another album of original songs, because that was my jam. But still, even as a covers band, they're incredibly talented, and I love their arrangements, and they always sound like they're having fun with it. And Pentatonic's just a fun band to dive into if you want something casual and a little less hardcore. Number 9. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's talk about emo music. Now, I bet you're probably wondering, you said Fall Out Boy's not going to be on this list. You Panic at the Disco, MCR, 21 Pilots. Where are you coming at with emo music here? No. This is a band that, again, I wouldn't say I constantly listen to now, and I did definitely go through a phase with, but I cannot deny this band's impact on me as well. This is one of those bands that just, their songs have meant so much to me at different times. As someone who was raised in a very, let's say, conservative type Christian, like it's hard to explain. Not politically conservative per se, but just kind of a lot of the like French Christianity, like understanding of it. Someone who was raised in this kind of thing, and raised on K-Love, Christian music, and all that, and got into that when I was 12. I went through a particular phase where I decided that I hated all Christian music, and basically refused to listen to any Christian music. And here's the thing: 21 Pilots, Paramore, Imagine Dragons are Mormons. I'm just saying, there are loads of bands with Christian or Mormon or other religious views that don't push them through in their music. And Evanescence was a band I discovered when I was at a low place. I'm still at a low place, but I was dealing with a lot of bullshit. And Evanescence, I call them spiritual emo. The lyrics are really spiritual when you look at it, and if you're from that point of view. If you're not from that point of view, I completely understand. As a casual consumer, it's over-the-top emo music, and I completely understand why and how people would have this feeling about Evanescence. And I still love them. I still think they're absolutely fantastic. The guitar work. Now, the reason I like this band a lot more as well than most screamo bands, disregarding the deeper lyrics, this band has a female lead singer, and I'm not saying I have any problem with male singers, but the kind of screamo style of singing for males is not my favorite. They're kind of like, it just sounds very aggressive and throaty, and it's not my favorite kind of style. But Amy Lee has an absolutely beautiful voice, and she just absolutely sells these songs. And they're overwrought with emotion, and if you're coming from the background I'm coming from and have the connection with it, it's okay for Christians to be sad and desperate. Like, you don't have to have it all together, which is what the K-Love or the radio stations would allow you to think. I know this may sound corny to some people, but it's just true from my experience. Number 8. I feel like this band should be higher, honestly. They do have my 3rd favorite song of all time, and this band is absolute perfection when it comes to performance, image, everything about this band. Just, this band was the best performance, just the most iconic, absolute, one of the best bands of all time. Also, I forgot to mention Pink Floyd in my honorable mentions. I do like Pink Floyd, but I'm not allowed to. We'll talk about it. That's not relevant. But this band was like one of the biggest bands in the 70s and the 80s. One of the best bands of that era. Fantastic band in every way. Talented members, and some great tunes that you can't ignore. At number 8, we have Queen. I love Queen. Now, I got into Queen. I want to say Queen was also one of the first bands I really got into a couple years ago, because my friend got me into Queen because she would play their songs in her car, and she had a greatest hits collection. And then I discovered Bohemian Rhapsody. And again, Bohemian Rhapsody is my third favorite song of all time. It is a wonderful song. Freddie Mercury's voice was absolutely amazing, and his persona on stage, everything about Freddie Mercury and his persona, just so powerful. And then, let's not forget Brian May's superb guitar skills, and John Deacon's bass, and Roger Taylor's drums and vocals. Great band. Now, I do have to say that, first of all, I was into Queen like 2 years ago when my friend got me into Queen. I am not standing Queen because of the movie. And second of all, although I did enjoy the movie. And second of all, the only reason Queen is so low is that I feel like they're not really an album band. Now, I've listened to a couple of their albums, and maybe I could get more into it later, but to me, the only songs I ever find myself really going back to for Queen are the singles, are the hits, and they had so many hits. And also, they're not as lyrically deep as I would want them to be, for the most part, with the exception of Bohemian Rhapsody, but, this band, still absolute fantastic, deserves a place on my list for how much I have always gone back to them. I'll never not listen to Queen. Whenever it comes on, it'll make me happy. I will never... Just absolute amazing band. I have nothing else to say. Number 7. This one's interesting. I feel like this is a band I seek out less than other bands sometimes, but at the same time, I play this shit all the time when I'm in the car, when I'm traveling anywhere, because my dad has their CDs, and yeah, they can be a bit safe in terms of sound, but I'm sorry, this band, I love them. U2, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know a lot of people like to hate on U2. A lot of people like to hate on Bono. They say the music is boring. They say that Bono is preachy, yada yada. This is the same things they say. Personally, I have nothing wrong with Bono's politics, which will be a recurring theme, trust me. But U2, I've always loved Bono's voice on the U2 songs, and U2, in my opinion, are an absolutely fantastic band, and they're back to basics rock act. You've got the drums, you've got the bass, you've got the vocals, you've got the guitars, and it's just a very basic instrumentation. They don't do anything fancy with keyboards or all the hamming it up that people were doing in the 80s. They were just making good, honest music. Also, I love how a lot of the songs are about Ireland and their home country, and how a lot of the songs are really lyrically deep. There's a lot of questioning, again, from Bono, kind of in the Evanescence vein. And their songs are absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. There's just everything about this band is just perfection. Now, yeah, they do play it a little bit safe sometimes. There are some experiments, like Numb. And my favorite phase of U2 was early raw U2, like War U2. That's probably my favorite phase of their career. And I'm not familiar with their newer stuff, but I will definitely never not put on a U2 album in the car. In fact, I will listen to their albums a lot. And I think they're a fantastic band. So that's all I have to say about it. U2, I love them.